All right, we're getting started. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Kelsey Maynor, and I'm excited to have you all here for our webinar. I am the small business advocate for Invest Atlanta, and we're excited to have you here for our first webinar of the year here with our small business events. And so we have a lot of events that we do throughout the year between webinars, network mixers, and programs to really give you guys access to the businesses, to access to capital, access to opportunities and resources. So we're excited to have this webinar today because I think the topic is so timely, but it's so important that we understand what the process is for starting our business here in the city of Atlanta. So before we get started, Invest Atlanta is the economic development arm of the city of Atlanta. It's the economic development arm. And so we work in an array of spaces. And so you probably know us for working in the space of affordable housing, where we work with multifamily programs to build affordable housing here in the city of Atlanta. But we also work with people who are trying to buy homes. And so if you've ever been in one of our programs where you try to get down payment assistance to purchase a home here in the city of Atlanta, we do that as well. And then we also work in the economic development side where we're working with businesses to bring in and attract new businesses to the city of Atlanta. We work with business retention to keep the businesses that are currently here and allow them to expand here in the city of Atlanta. And then we provide opportunities for small business loans where you can get low interest rate loans to grow your business. Because the mayor says we want our business to go from from surviving to thriving. And so we try our best to do that with our resources and our programs. So we're excited to have you all here today. This webinar is so important because it is about simplifying the city of Atlanta's business license process and how to actually apply for that business license. I know we get a lot of questions, but I want to reiterate that it's very important that you have your business license because Invest Atlanta's programming is specific to the city of Atlanta. And the only way we know that your business is actually located in the city is when we go to that business license portal to see if your business is registered. And so that's how you get access to a lot of our programs, some of our free programs, some of our loan process programs and things like that. But before I introduce our amazing guest from here from the City of Atlanta's Office of Revenue, I need you to do me a favor. And I know it's a tough one, but I need you to do me a favor. In order for us to make sure we are communicating to the right people and that you're being counted, and I want to make sure I'm able to follow up with you and make sure I get the resources that you're asking for and that you need. I want to get them to you. Can you please take this quick 12-question survey so we can get started? And so if you guys can just take the moment right now, fill out this questionnaire. It's only 12 questions. It's brief and it's simple questions about your business and the number of employees your business has, where your business is located, things like that. So as you complete this survey for me, please, we'll be able to move on forward to the presentation. And while you're doing that, I'll continue to communicate to you with the house rules. And so we have house rules here that I'm excited to share with you all. The house rules are this: please put your questions in the Q&A section. I will do my best, which means I will do my best to make sure that I answer all the questions out of there and so that we get everybody's questions answered. I don't want to miss anybody. And so there are questions that I can type in, and there's some questions that we will have to answer out loud. But when I respond to those questions, you will be able to see it in the Q&A as well. So if you have any burning questions like, oh, I just want to ask this question, but we will have a Q&A section at the end. So once we finish with the presentation, you can always ask that question at the end, or that's why I plan on addressing the questions unless it's a really important question that I think we should address during the presentation. But if you could, if you like, I don't remember questions after a minute, just type it in the chat. The Q&A section. We'll make sure you get to it. Also, this webinar is being recorded, as you were notified. This is being recorded, and so we utilize this recording to make sure that as I'm consulting and we're consulting with new businesses, that they can go to watch this webinar and review the qualifications for our business license project, and so that I use it and we use it, so we send it out so people can learn. So this is being recorded for that purpose. So don't ask me that. Yes, it's being recorded. Yes, I will send a follow-up email with the recording and the contact information to the person that we have on the panel and my information as well. And so those are two things. This is being recorded, and if you have any questions, we do have a Q&A section, but also put your questions in the Q&A section. Lastly, if you have not completed the survey, please complete the survey. It's been up for 2 minutes and some time. Just take the minute to answer these 12 questions quickly. so we can begin this amazing opportunity to really dig in and simplify the Atlanta business license process. So while we're doing that, I want to go ahead and introduce somebody that I think is very important. Now, Katina Days is somebody that I have to communicate with to make sure that we have clear communication between Invest Atlanta and the City of Atlanta's Revenue Office. And so I go to her to ask them about business license too much. I just pop up there sometimes. So I'm glad that she's able to join me today so we can talk about this. Because again, this is a really important conversation to have and understand what the process is and how to renew our license or how to get our business license for the first time. And so, without further ado, Katina, come on in here.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Maynor, for that kind introduction. Again, my name is Katina Days. I'm a business license manager with the Office of Revenue. I also have accompanying me today, Natasha White, who is also a business license manager. So you might see me 2 times on the screen, but one of those is actually Natasha White. So she has joined us this evening as well. And we're happy to be here to help assist you guys with your business license processes, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have concerning the overall process for business licensing. Mr. Maynor, you can let me know if you're ready for me to go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint presentation.
Let's see. I'm gonna give you guys 1 more minute to complete the survey, please. Just answer those 12 questions for me real quick so we can get started. And you know what? Yeah, start it. They're answering questions. I see people doing it as we talk. So let's go ahead and start the presentation.
All right, awesome. So what we're going to show you today is how to apply for a new business license, how to renew your business license, and then also how to pay invoices using our ATL Core system, which is what we use to process the business licenses. So when you log into ATL Core, okay, my slides aren't moving. Okay,
So
there you
you're
go.
not sharing right now.
When you log into ATL Core, this is the
Katina,
first.
real quick, let's
Yes.
you're not can you share your presentation?
I'm not sharing. I thought I was
Uh,
sharing already. Sorry. Can you see it now?
there we go.
All right. Sorry about that. Mm. So when you log into our ATL core system, this is the first page that you will see. There's so much information or so many different things that can be done through our portal. We're the business license office, so I'm going to focus more on those business license activity and just touch very briefly on some of the other options that are available here. So for you new business license owners who are just coming into the city, the first thing that we would ask you to do is look at this first block that says pre-zoning check. And what that block does for you, when you click on it, it allows you to enter your physical address of your business to determine whether or not it's actually located in the city of Atlanta. If it is located in the city, then you can proceed with applying. If it's not in the city, then you should apply for the license in the jurisdiction where the business is physically located. Okay. In order to actually use our system and apply for a business license, you have to first register on our website. So this next block where it says login or register, you have to actually create a login and a password here before you're able to do anything in our system. And we'll talk very briefly about, excuse me, what that looks like. So when you log in, you're going to enter an email address. It has to be a valid email address that you will be able to access after you register the email. If you need to register, you're going to click the sign up at the bottom of the screen to actually create an account if you don't already have one. If you have an account, then of course you would just log in using your email address and password. Once you register, once you sign up for an account, you will receive an email to confirm and activate that account. So your account is not activated until you confirm via email that you have registered. If you forget your password, of course, just like on any other website, banking institutions, for an example, you can actually go in and reset your password by clicking on the Forgot Password button. And you will also receive an email if you need to reset that password. So before you're able to do anything on the ATL Core site, you're going to have to register an email address. So the next thing for the new business, we've already talked about the pre-zoning check, and you can do that without actually registering. The new business license, click apply. And that will fall under the start a new business block. And then if you're an existing business owner and you need to renew, you can click the renew my license for existing business. And as I mentioned before, there are other activities that you can do on this site as well. This is where you will go to apply for any APD permits that you may need. If you need to apply for an alcohol license, you will also use this same platform to do so. So let's talk about applying for a new business license. I'm going to briefly walk you through what that process looked like and what you will see from the customer's end. So once you launch that apply for a new business, it will come up at this screen right here, and it will ask you to type in a search box the type of business. So whatever your business type is, let's say for an example, you are a restaurant, you might want to type in food. If you're a hotel motel, you might want to type in hotel. You would type in any key words that describes the type of business that you're applying for. Once you put that in and click the search button, it will bring you here with a list of all of these general business license types. And once you identify this is a very long list. This is just a very small portion that I cut off for the purpose of this PowerPoint presentation. But if you continue to scroll, you'll continue to get different business license types. And then you will push apply once you find the one that's applicable to the type of business that you're applying for. So the first thing you want to do is to select the company type. And what that means is you're going to select whether or not you're a corporation, an LLC, general partnership, nonprofit, sole proprietorship. This is where you select the actual type of company. Once you select the company type, then you will add a location. When it says add a location, you have the option to add your business location. Well, you're required to add your business location, but then it also filters over for you to add. If you wanted to put a mailing address there, you can put in a mailing address as well. But this is where you will put the business location and mailing address if you wanted to add an additional address to the license. So here's where we start to get down to business. As you can see, the company type is already filled in here because we selected that a few screens prior. Anything that's indicated in red with an asterisk, those are considered required fields. So the system will not accept your application if those fields are not complete. So the company name, that will be the name of your business. Business description here, it is not in red, but as you can see a few boxes down, it asks for a description that is red. I would ask that you put the same information in the first block that you're going to put in the next block. And what the business description is a true depiction of what your business is doing. If you're a full service restaurant, you might want to say full service seafood restaurant or whatever that equates to. Just make sure that the description describes specifically the activity that your business is going to be doing. If you have a DBA, and that's if you're, let's say for an example, you have an LLC and you're going to be doing business as, I don't know, Katina Rock, then you would enter the DBA as such. The location, What this location is asking is whether or not your business is a residential or a commercial business. So you want to select one or the other here. And the industry classification, which is very important because this is what determines how you are taxed on an annual basis. Um, the industry classification is a long list of NAICS codes, um, basically that drives the tax rate for each business. So you want to make sure that your selection here aligns specifically with how your business generates its revenue. Okay, and the license type, again, is pre-populated because we selected that in the beginning. And then again, the business description, which should match the description from above. Estimated gross receipts for new business owners. The first year, we know that you don't have any financial documents or you don't have any documented revenue for the business. So we're asking for you to enter your estimated gross receipts here. So what do you plan to make from, I don't know, if you're opening in July, what revenue do you plan to make between July 1 and December 31st of this year only? Not over a period of time, just in the fiscal year. So if you're opening in January, what do you anticipate making between January 18th, 2024 and December 31st, 2024? So that would be considered an estimated amount. The next question that we'll ask is, have you received zoning approval? For new businesses, the answer to this question should always be no, because once you submit your application, we are responsible for actually forwarding your application to the zoning department for approval. So that should always be no for new businesses. And so here on this screen, remember, everything in red is required. Is asked for gross revenue here. This number here for gross revenue, and I'm just going to go down a few boxes. The one here that says gross receipts, these should match what you placed in the previous slide. So when it asks for gross receipts, gross revenue, kind of somewhat using the term interchangeably, but it should match in all three places where you're required to enter it. And just note that that number cannot be zero. All right, so for prior years, I'm sorry, for number of employees, this number also has to be 1 or above. It cannot be 0. So you would enter, if you're the business owner and you're the only one operating the business, you can enter 1, but it has to be any number other than 0 here. Although it says prior year, we understand that it's your current year. It's current for you guys because you're new businesses, but it still has to be answered, or it still has to be filled in, I should say. Previous number of employees for you guys, new businesses, it should always be 0. Again, gross receipts, that should match what you entered at the top of the screen and also what you entered on the prior slide that I showed you. So just make sure that that number match in all three places. Type of business, when it's a drop-down arrow here, so it's just going to ask you if the business is a nonprofit or for-profit business. You would select which is applicable to your business. All right, E-Verify. So the Georgia state law requires that private employers of who has 11 or more employees to register on the E-Verify program. We have a link on our website for you to be able to do that if you're not familiar with it. But if you have fewer than 10 or fewer employees, where it asks, are you exempt from E-Verify? You would answer yes here. And if the answer to that question is yes, you would enter 0 in the next box. If you have 11 or more employees, your answer to the question should be no, you are not exempt. And then you should have an E-Verify number after you register on the E-Verify site. So more than 10 employees, you're required to register on the E-Verify site, and you should have an E-Verify number assigned when you register. The next slide. So there are some required documents for all new businesses. Of course, all of the forms can be found on our website. You have the SAVE affidavit. And basically what that affidavit is the state of Georgia, the state of Georgia has made participation in this process mandatory for any agency administering business licenses. The SAFE affidavit verify each applicant's lawful presence in the U.S. by allowing the applicant to affirm either that they are a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, 18 years of age or older, or that they are a qualified alien or non-immigrant lawfully present in the United States. So this is a state requirement that all business license applicants complete this SAVE affidavit form. As well as the E-Verify affidavit, whether you are exempt or not, all applicants must complete that form. If you look at the form, you'll see where it asks how many employees, and then if it's fewer than 10, it will instruct you what portions of the form you need to complete. And then all applicants must also provide a government issued ID, whether it be a passport, a driver's license, military ID. You have to provide a government issued ID. So those three pieces are required for all applicants. Now, some business types require that you obtain permits from different state or federal agencies. You are also required to upload those documents here as well. So for example, when we think about a restaurant, and I say restaurant because that's one of the most obvious ones that we see, full service restaurants are required to provide a Fulton or DeKalb County food service permit, and they're also required to provide a grease trap permit from the Department of Watershed. If you have those items, you should go ahead and upload them while you're in the midst of completing your business license application. It just keeps us from having to come back and reach out to you for those documents. Just note that if those documents are not visible here, we will not process your application until we receive them, and you won't be able to get a license until we receive all of the required documentation. So after you've gone through that process, you uploaded your documents, the system requires you to sign that you actually submitted the application and that the information that you provided is true and accurate. Once you push submit, the system will at that point assign you a business license number. It is imperative that you write that number down, tuck it somewhere so that if you have to call into the city or come into the city, you're able to provide us with that number to give us easy access to be able to review your license or application and make sure that it's actually been submitted and that it's going through the process. So when it issues this business license number, make sure you actually take the time to write that number down. And that will conclude the process for the new business license applications. I'll pause for a minute to see if there's any questions concerning that part of the process.
Oh, there's a million.
Uh-oh.
All right. So let's start here. There was a question about the SAVE and E-Verify affidavits. And the question is, I'm gonna read this. For both the SAVE and E-Verify affidavit, there is a section on both forms that require a business license account number. Now, I see that you say you'll get it at the end, but do I need to input that in there when I'm actually doing the application? How do I do that?
For new business license customers, you will not have a number until you get to the end of the process, and you would have already uploaded those documents. So you can leave that blank for new business applications.
Okay, perfect.
Just make sure that the business name is visible.
Okay. I have another question. Um, do we have to complete the Save and E-Verify forms annually?
So we discontinued that process just this year in 2024. If we have it on file, you do not have to do it on an annual basis. We just need to make sure that we have them on file. So
Wonderful.
if you submit one with your new license this year, you will not have to submit it next year.
We had questions about the employee section. It
Okay.
says, do you have to list contractors in the employee section?
You do not. Contractors are not considered employees.
All right. Uh, I think that's enough for right now. I think
Okay.
most of the questions you have may be answered in the next
In
part
the
of the
next part.
presentation.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So I'll continue with the PowerPoint presentation. The next thing that we're going to look at is actually renewing a business license. So again, I'm going to take you back to the main panel, and this is where it says renew my license for existing business. So when you log in, and remember the license are due, renewal season is annual. Our renewal season runs from from January 2nd through February 15th. So you want to make sure that you submit your renewal on or before February 15th of every year. So when you log into the account, if everything was A-OK in the previous year, when you log in, you're going to and go to My Work, you're going to see this blue renew button here. That means that the account is now eligible for renewal. If you try to renew prematurely, say for example, some people try to get it ahead of the game on December 15th. When you log into this account, you will not see this renew button until January 2nd. So you're going to click that renew button. And here, again, information is pre-populated because you entered it when you applied for the license the prior year. So your business description and the business type are going to auto-populate. The next screen you get asks for revenue. So what's the reported receipts that should, the original estimated receipts, let me go to the top. This number will reflect auto-populate, and it will reflect what you reported last year. The reported receipts, you're going to enter your reported receipts from the prior year. So right now we're in 2024. When you're submitting your renewal for 2024, you should be entering your actual gross receipts for 2023. Again, this value cannot be zero. Allow deductions, that should be zero because the city at this point does not have any allowed deductions. So always enter zero there. Actual gross receipts will auto-populate, and the estimated receipts will also auto-populate. And they're going to populate based on the numbers you entered here. So it is going to ask you, are you exempt from E-Verify? And we talked about that under the new business license. So I won't put you guys through that again. So you still have to answer the question here under the renewal. And then the required documents. So we made a change in our process this year in that the E-Verify and the Save affidavit are not required if we already have them on file. You are required, however, to upload the government issued ID and then your financial statement. And we'll talk about that a little bit further down the road. Those other permits that we talked about, for example, the food service permit, and the grease trap permit, we don't need those annually. We just need them when when you apply for the new license. So with the renewal this year, you're only required to upload your ID and your financial statement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, you're going to submit it, and the system will send you an alert once you submit the application. In the new process, again, once you push submit, the system is going to automatically send you an invoice like in real time. If you pay that invoice, you will get your license right then. If you pay at a later date, you'll get the invoice you'll get the license once the invoice is paid. So let's just talk a little bit about paying an invoice. Now, paying an invoice is the one thing that you can do without logging into the system, right? So if you go again back at the home page, pay invoice with a debit or credit card. I also want to just bring to your attention that that is not the only payment method that we have. You can pay it via check or money order through our lockbox. And if you click on that, it will give you the address for that lockbox. But let's say everyone wants to pay online. So you will click this pay invoice with debit or credit card. On this screen, you have to enter the invoice number exactly how it appears on the invoice. So our invoices starts with INV dash and then a 5 or 6 digit number. You want to make sure that you enter it exactly how it appears on the invoice and click pay now. If you have more than one, it also gives you the option to add it to a cart so you can pay multiple invoices at one time. Of course, you would have to enter your credit card information and then push pay now. And the system will issue you via email a receipt. So let me just make sure that everyone understands that our process now is pretty much completely electronic. We don't mail out any correspondences. Everything comes to your email. That's why it's important that the email that you use to register on the website, that is a valid email that you continually will have access to. In addition to that, I can tell you that many of our business owners, for whatever reason, their businesses may have walls built up where they don't get emails from our generic email address. It's imperative that if you don't see something that you check your junk mail as well to see if your firewalls have redirected it to your junk mail if it doesn't show up in your email box. So just a little tip to help you guys kind of understand how our correspondences are sent out. All right, so let's talk about some of the changes that we implemented in 2024. Again, we're asking everyone, especially those new business owners or anyone that's actually moving their business also, to make sure that you use the pre-zoning check to see if the business is located in the city of Atlanta. All applications must be submitted via ATO Core. We no longer accept paper copy applications. For new business license applications, you have to submit the SAVE and the E-Verify affidavit, of course, a valid government issued ID, and then any applicable regulatory permits. So the changes for the renewal applications. This year we are requiring financial documents. It must be submitted with all renewals. And our accepted forms of financial documents are your complete federal and state tax returns. And we do understand that business taxes typically are not, or you have until October to actually submit your tax returns from the prior year. So we understand that during renewal season that many of you would not have filed your tax returns for the prior year. So we also accept a P&L, which is known as a profit and loss statement, or an income statement. Both of those documents should reflect the revenues that you generated. And when I say revenue, I should be specific and say gross revenues that you generated in the prior year. And again, we no longer require for the SAVE and the E-Verify affidavits for renewals, unless, of course, your number of employees change. So let's say, for example, as a new business, you started off with just 6 employees. Your business grew over the year, and now you have 12. At the time that you exceed 10 employees, you must go on that site and register for an E-Verify number. And that concludes the renewal portion of our presentation. And I will pause now for any additional questions.
Mm-mm. I can't keep up. Um, all right. How much do we have left of the presentation?
That's it. I only no more questions. I mean, that's concludes the presentation.
All right, let's stay right here. Stay on this slide. Okay.
Okay. All
I'm gonna
right.
start from the top. Are you ready?
Yes.
Starting from the top. All right. So we have questions about changing our address if we already have a business license. There's
Mm-hmm.
been some statements in here that they've tried to make an address change, and yet
Mm-hmm.
the system is still showing the old address. How do they go about changing the address?
Okay, that's a great question. So on that same portal, and I'm going to actually try to share it so I can show you. Can you all see my screen? My screen, what do you all see?
I'm still seeing the slide, the for more information slide.
Okay, I'm going to share something different because that's a very good question. We get it all the time. So give me just a second. Share. And what do I want to share now? I want to share here. Okay, can you see me now?
Nope, not yet.
Mm.
There we go.
All right. So on the same website, if you come to helpful guides here, I'm not sure where you see the three
Yep,
question marks.
we see
There
them.
are so many helpful guides here that will help you guys to navigate the system. If you launch that, I'm pretty sure how to submit a change of address. So again, everything is done electronically, and we have guides here that will walk you all through that process here. So you will just come here, click how to submit an address, and it's going to give you a nice tool that's going to walk you through how to do that. So again, this is one of those features that you can actually use without logging in because you're not looking at a specific account. You're just looking at what the tools that will help you navigate our system. I hope that helps.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Um, woo. Hold on, GPS Atlanta. All right. Another question. Going back to the top. I'm gonna make sure I get everybody. Are home-based freelancers required to get a business license in the city of Atlanta?
If you are generating revenues in the city of Atlanta, you are required to get a license.
Can a mobile business with statewide services qualify as a city of Atlanta business?
Repeat.
Can a mobile business
Mhm.
with statewide services qualify as a city of Atlanta business?
So when you talk about mobile, I need a little bit more detail as far as that go. Are we talking about vending? Are we talking about um yeah, I can't answer that.
Imagine if I have a mobile nail spa and I
Okay.
have this truck that I drive around and do events and parties and I travel all over the place.
Okay.
Um,
S- So no, you will not have to have a City of Atlanta business license. Your business you have to have a business license in the jurisdiction where your physical location is, but you may be required to have a permit to actually do that business in the city. So you don't necessarily have to have a license, but you will be required to have a permit.
okay, I feel like there's some more questions about that, so we'll dig into it.
Okay.
What if you are registering from a different state where you are already registered currently? Can I answer this question? If your business is doing business in the city of Atlanta, and you have a location here that you do business out of, whether that's a office, whether that's a retail space, you're required to have a business license if you're doing business in the city of Atlanta. Now, if you are
Correct.
a consultant and you just happen to be in Atlanta this month and you're going back to where your main office is in another state, what does that mean? That your revenues are still going to wherever your main office is or main location, the address for your business. Am I answering that correctly?
Yes, I'll say yes. Because again, a lot of it, I would need to drill down a little bit further to get additional information before I can give a affirmative answer.
Mhm.
But for just generally, I would say yes. You
Got it.
answered it correctly.
Can you use your apartment address while waiting to find a commercial space?
You can't, it depends. It depends on the business activity. So what happens when we receive your application, we send it to zoning. Zoning is not just checking to make sure that the address falls within the city of Atlanta, but it's also checking to make sure that the business activity can be performed at the address provided. So um, it- some businesses can and some businesses will not be able to, depending on the business activity.
Understood. I have vending machines that are located in the city of Atlanta. Can I use the address where the machines are located on my application?
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer would be no. Even if you have vending machines, you should have a business location, whether that's in your apartment or rather it's a commercial site, you still have to have a physical location for the business. So you can't use the vending machines as your business address. No.
Wonderful. I see that the estimated receipt section is not a requirement. Do we still need to fill it out on the application?
And which app was it? Was it the new app or the uh, renewal app? Because it
The new
is
one.
ooh, it is a requirement. Anything that's in red, those are in red and they have the red asterisks,
What about, I
but
think I said gross, no, you have the question twice. There's estimated receipts and then there's gross receipts or
you
gross
sh
revenues.
yes, you do. You must enter that information. Otherwise, we're going to have to reach back out to you to try to get it.
Understood.
Yes.
Once you register your business with the Secretary of State website, is it necessary to register your business license?
Say that again. I missed something.
Once you register your business with the Secretary of State website, is it still necessary to register your business with your business license?
I'm not real clear on the question, but just from what I understand, you do have to register with the state annually, and you have to renew your city license annually. I'm not sure what the registration piece is.
Yes, you answered the question.
Okay.
Um, if you are a realtor or operate a business virtually, do you need a business license?
If you're generating revenues in the city of Atlanta, yes, you do.
All right, this is for existing business in a commercial space. How does the zoning question work if you are registering for the first time? Like I'm in a commercial space and I have a commercial office. How do I know if I'm zoned correctly?
So that's the purpose of our sending the applications to zoning. They will take a look at all of that, and if it's not appropriate, they'll respond. They would deny the application, and we would notify you of such.
Okay. What would the date of incorporation slash date of opening in Atlanta be for a sole proprietor business? Does it need to be 2024?
So it will be whatever date you open. So if you opened in 2024, yes. So the date of opening is in Atlanta is the date that you actually opened in Atlanta. But we know that businesses register on the Georgia Secretary of State site. Let's say, for example, you have an LLC and you registered that LLC 10 years ago, but now you're doing business in Atlanta under a DBA under that LLC. So that should reflect the date that the LLC was incorporated.
Okay. It says, once I answered the question about having a business last year, the answer is no. The next section then states, if no, please complete the multi-year application section for each year of not having a business license. If
That is,
yes,
oh, I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
It said,
You
if
go
yes,
ahead.
skip the multi-year application section. So does this mean I need to fill out the section for 2021, 22, and 23?
So you only fill it out if you did not submit an application last year. So this question will only be applicable to those that are submitting renewals. If you skip the year with your renewal, then you do kick into the multi-year application process. So it's only if you've skipped the year or failed
Okay.
to renew for more than 1 year.
Somebody flat out asked, how much is this process?
That's a great question as well. So what I can tell you is that there's a $75 application fee that's billed to every applicant. Along with that, for new businesses, we also bill you a $50 zoning fee for them to actually zone the business. And then the business license tax is going to be based on the revenue that you estimated that you're going to generate and your number of employees. Again, that's driven by this industry classification that I mentioned earlier that will determine the tax rate. So we can tell you that off the top is going to be 125 for the application fee and the zoning fee, but what we cannot tell you is the business license tax because that's going to be based on what you enter and the tax rate.
Okay. Will we receive a notification if there's an issue in the processing of that application?
Yes, typically when we're processing applications, if we identify anything, we're emailing that customer and we're going to send those emails to the registered email address on the account.
All right, I got another one. Help me. Is there a way to waive late fees from last year's non-refile?
Great question. So let me say this. We do have a penalty interest penalty and interest waiver request that we do offer to our customers. However, they're approved on a case by case basis. So typically, if you have a hardship, um, maybe death in the family during the time of renewal, or you're severely ill, we would waive those fees. Or if we identify that there's something in the process that we neglected to do in the business license office, we will waive those fees there as well. So those are typically the two scenarios where we would waive any fees.
All right.
But we don't just arbitrarily waive them, no. So let me take this opportunity just to put this plug in, just in
Mhm.
case I have any existing customers on the phone. It is imperative that those licenses are renewed on or before February 15th, because at 12:01 on the 16th, that $500 failure to file fee will kick in. So if you renew on February 16th, you are going to see that $500 failure to file fee added to your invoice.
Mm. Oh, I have a question. What if you started the application process, received an invoice, but then never really started say it was a new business, you never started the business. And so you never paid the invoice because you never started the business.
Mhm.
Um, but then you end up starting the business the next year. Are you going to be penalized for not doing it the first time?
You are. So once we process the application and it issues you the invoice, we are expecting payment of that invoice. So as a courtesy, we would ask that if you're not going to start the business, that you let us know in writing that you're not going to start the business. And at that point, we can void out the application. And then when you decide next year that you want really serious about starting this business, we give you the opportunity to apply. But it is imperative that if you're not going to go into business when you apply, that you communicate back with this office and let us know that you want us to void out or revoke your application.
Is that via email?
You can do that via email. You can do it in writing by sending a letter to our office. Um, yes, either of those two methods are acceptable.
Okay, wonderful. Next question. What if your business is online, but you have a business mailing address in the city of Atlanta? How does that affect zoning, or does it?
It does not. As long as it's an online business, again, depending on what the business is doing, they may assess and ask additional questions. If you're, let's say, for example, you're selling products, well, zoning is going to want to know where are you storing your products. It just kind of depends on what you're doing, what you're selling. But we do allow online businesses without physical addresses, if that makes sense.
Hmm. So they said, this is my first year applying for a City of Atlanta business license. Although
Mhm.
I've been operating for 3 years, the multi-year application asks to provide all tax returns for the past years. If I'm still working on my 2022, I've not yet done. No, mind, we answered that question. You say you have until October to submit the tax returns for 2023, correct?
Well, no,
Kind of.
what I was saying
Oh,
there is that we know that you have that amount of time. You have until that time frame to submit provide your taxes to the
to do a
IRS.
profit and loss
So
statement.
in lieu of that, we would look for a profit and loss statement or an income statement for those unfiled years.
Okay, what if you had no sales in that year?
You still have to provide us with something, some type of statement indicating as such.
Okay. Okay. If my business is, we already did that. If you already have a business license from another county in Georgia, do I need one for the city for business of Atlanta? If I already have a business license from another Georgia county, do I need another? Do I need to do another one for the city of Atlanta?
Only if you have brick and mortar in the city of Atlanta. So you can have, let's just say you have a Clayton County business license, or let's just say a city of Snellville business license. You do not have to get a city of Atlanta business license to do business in the city. That license permits you to do business all over the state of Georgia.
Okay, we're doing good. I feel like every time we answer questions,
You
like
get a new one.
not one, five. All right. We are looking at we have 9 more minutes, so I'm trying to blast through these. Are
Okay,
freelancers offering virtual services from their home required to have a business license? If you're making revenue, yes. Got it.
right. Hmm.
Please repeat the e-verify info. Thank you. E-verify information. So e-verify is what? Can you tell us what that document is one more time?
I can. So the E-Verify is the state of Georgia basically requires that everyone that's applying for public benefit to apply for an E-Verify number if you have 11 or more employees. So if you have fewer than 11, you're not required to do so. But if you have 11 or more, you have to register on that E-Verify website and get a work authorization number to operate legally in the state of Georgia. And there's additional information concerning that on our website. And there's also a link to the E-Verify website there as well.
Got it.
Okay.
Um, zero income. We talked about that. We talked about the penalty. The penalty for filing late is $500 initially, and then what?
After April 1st, if you haven't paid your invoice, you will get a 10% failure to pay penalty added. And then every month there's a 1.5% penalty that's added. That's new for this year. And that's only for the business license tax. It doesn't apply to the application fee or zoning fees.
Okay. I'm glad these questions are repetitive. All right. Just to confirm, if we have our tax returns, we do not have to submit a profit and loss statement. Yes.
That is
Is
correct.
is profit and loss statement, tax returns, or income statement?
Hmm.
All right. Wonderful. I think I got this down. Um, new startup and don't have physical address, just co-working space. What are steps to use? Oh, so I said we have a new startup, but we don't have a physical address. We just work out of a co-working space. What are the steps that we can do to apply for a business license? Because we can't use a PO box.
That's correct. So if that virtual space is in the city of Atlanta, let me think about that. That's an unusual one. If you're using that virtual space as your place to operate your business, then I would say yes. But again, it has to go through zoning, and zoning has to determine whether or not it can be performed at that address.
All right. Woo. Um, I love it. I love all these questions. You're welcome for answering your question. They said mobile like a photography service. Like I'm a photographer, so I'm mobile.
Hmm.
Do I have to get a business license?
You do need a business license if you're generating revenues. You definitely need a business license. Yes.
They said, how do we show a profit and loss? Are there any particular form?
There
Ooh,
isn't a
ooh,
form,
ooh.
and
I got her. My
you
bad. Go
got
ahead.
her?
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead. You got it.
What we do in that situation, because we are not accountants, we would refer business owners back to their accountant to get those required documents, because every business does it different. They kind of all have the same information, but it could look totally different from one business to the next.
Got it. I plan to change my suite number, but my address is still the same. Would I be able to change that when I renew my business license?
So you would need to submit a change of address request through the portal because again, zoning has to look at the former activity in the suite that you're moving to determine if you're going to require a building permit and all of that good stuff. So it still has to be rezoned. So you're going to have to submit a change of address request for that.
Okay. Now they're asking about requirements for like liquor license in a restaurant. That's not the same license, huh?
It's not the same, and that's a little bit outside of my scope. I used
Understood.
to manage that process, but I don't know what changes they've made since I'm no longer in that capacity. So I would be reluctant to answer any questions as it relates to the alcohol piece.
Got it. Um, we already discovered that if I'm an artist and I do business in the city, yes, you can use your home address, but zoning
Yes.
will verify whether that's acceptable or not.
Yep.
Okay. What time is it? Oh, 4 minutes. I got a couple more questions. I guess I don't understand how to consider a business open if you're a sole proprietor, if you haven't filed an LLC. So it'd be the first time you receive payment for a customer or when you formally announce somewhere that you're open for business. So here's a question.
Okay.
If I am opening my business as sole proprietor, but
hmm
and I'm filing an LLC with the state, but I haven't made any revenue yet, do I need to go ahead and get a business license first, or do I wait until I start making money and then go file a business license?
To operate the business, you have to have a business license. So as a new customer, you can come in and apply for that license, get that license. If you, again, you're providing estimated gross receipts. So you're only going to provide us with, if you're planning on making $10 in that period of time, that's all that you're going to report. And we'll bill you based on that $10. But you definitely should have the license before you start operate. Well, let me back up. You can operate the business for 30 days legally without the business license. I probably should not have said that, but technically, according to our code, you can't operate the business for up to 30 days without the license.
Okay. Wonderful. Now, I know I answered a lot of y'all questions, and some of y'all are repetitive. It's okay. Um, these are I want to. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Let me get back on camera so y'all can see how serious I am. I'm gonna do this. So I appreciate you all for joining us. We had a lot of people here. I want y'all to stay to the end. We had a lot of people here, and I'm excited that you had so many questions, and we were able to answer your questions. Now, this is what we're going to do. On February 6th, the deadline to renew your business license is February 15th. On February 6th, we're having a workshop at Pittsburgh Yards. That's on University Ave. On February 6th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., we're having a workshop. Well, InvestLand will be there. We'll have accountants there to help you if you have questions about your profit and loss statement. We'll have a notary there if you need to get your documents notarized. And I want you to be able to come in, fill out your application, and hit submit, and everything that you need in order to hit submit, the questions you have about, do I fill this out? Do I click this button? What do I put here? We're going to have somebody there to answer those questions to make sure that you can do your application then and there and hit submit. That's the goal. I want you to hit submit. So if you have questions that didn't get answered, they should have, you can ask them there. We'll be at Pittsburgh Yards on February 6th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. to answer your questions to make sure that you can submit your business license on time. And if you have questions, if you need help with your profit and loss statement, your income statement, we'll have the representative there to help you make sure you're on the right track. I will send out an email after this. It's probably tomorrow, recapping this. We'll have the presentation that we did on the email, as well as the recording and the information about the February 6th event, so that you can be invited. And so if you have more questions or you're uncertain about how to do this business license, I want you to come. I want you to get the help so you can get prepared and be ready to go with your business for 2024. How about that? Everybody feel good? Wonderful. So with that being said, I know I answered your question. I know we answered all your questions. If you're asking the same question over and over again, I know I answered it, and I appreciate you for asking that question for clarity. But we will have another event in person, February 6th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Pittsburgh Yards to talk about the business license and get you submitted. And so with that being said, I appreciate you so much. Katina, Natasha, I know you back there somewhere, but I appreciate you too. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope this was informative. And don't forget, we recorded this, and I will send you both the presentation and the recording So if you have more questions about the process, you can go there, and I will see you on February 6th to get your application submitted. All right. I appreciate you all. You have a great evening. It's Thursday. Go home safe. I love you. Bye.
Thanks, Kelsey. Bye bye.
Mhm.